In this video, we are going to be writing the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. We know from previous graphing units that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope of your line and b represents the y-intercept of your line. So the y value when x is 0, or in other words, where the graph crosses the y-axis. To write an equation in slope-intercept form, you want to replace the m in the equation with your slope, and you want to replace the b in your equation with your y-intercept, just staying conscious of the signs of the y-intercept. So for the first example, y equals, instead of an m, I would put a 1/2 because that's my slope, x, and then our y-intercept is -2, so we're going to write -2. Writing it this way is not incorrect, but we try to only have one sign between our slope and our y-intercept, so we would keep it just as a -2. The example below it, the slope is 0, so 0x plus 9. Since the slope is 0, 0 times anything is 0, so y equals 9 would also be an acceptable answer. In example 4, you have a slope of -5, so -5 would go in front of the x. And then you can either write plus 0 if the y-intercept is 0, or you can leave it off and just make it y equals -5x. The last example I just want to take note of is that if an ordered pair is listed as 0, 4, that is the y-intercept. We know that because the x value is 0. So if you have a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of 4, then y equals 3x plus 4. If we are given a graph, we still need a slope from the graph, and we need a y-intercept from the graph. So the slope, we're going to use rise over run. If I start at this point, 0, 2, I would rise 1, and the run would be 3. So 1/3 is your slope. The y-intercept is the point that the graph crosses the y-axis, which is 0, 2. So to write your equation in y equals mx plus b, in our case, 1/3 is the slope, or the m value, and b is going to be 2. So y equals 1/3 x plus 2. If you are given a table, you're only going to be able to write the equation in slope-intercept form from the table if you can figure out what the y-intercept is from that table. So for example, actually I like this one better. First, we have to find our slope, which when we're looking at a table, we would do change in y over change in x. So y is increasing by 3, and x is also increasing by 3. So the slope is 1. When you are looking at the table for a y-intercept, the y-intercept has to be listed in the table as having an x value of 0. So you need to be really careful when you look at your table that the point that you choose is the point that has an x value of 0. So here, the y-intercept is 0, 4. So my equation is y equals 1x plus 4. If you wrote just x plus 4, that is the same thing. One thing I do want to mention is that occasionally you might see another point in your table where 0 and 0 are both the x and y values. This is still considered your y-intercept. It just means that the graph is passing through the origin. So when you write your equation in y equals mx plus b, your b value would just be 0.